Shekau has vowed that there will be no peace in Nigeria except democracy is destroyed. There will be no peace in Nigeria except democracy is destroyed. And when you underscore what is happening, you know that these people are not fighting civilians. They are targeting military facilities with unmanned military vehicles. Of recent, the newly appointed Chief of Army Staff, with the current insecurity and expansion of Boko Haram ravaging the length and breadth of this Nigeria, targeting the military facilities, he said, state of insecurity in Nigeria is becoming worrisome. Having underscored and understudied what is playing out, he said, even though he mobilized all the Nigerian military to the war front where this insurgency is taking place, they cannot conquer. Insecurity will not stop. What does that mean? Of recent again, an Air Marshal Abubakar said, we cannot bomb Boko Haram out of Nigeria, emphasizing that except there is socio-economic reforms, that it is practically impossible to eliminate Boko Haram. This is Air Marshal Abubakar making these submissions. And for those who have understanding, when a military man begins to lose hope, when a military man begins to lose confidence in his ability or the capability of the military to end insurgency in Boko Haram, you understand they have more classical information that is not privy to the public. They knew what is happening and that the Nigerian security operatives are handicapped, they're incapacitated, not because they cannot fight to dislodge them. There is something more deeper than what an ordinary man on the street is seeing. Again, to make it worse, a chief of naval staff came to say that Nigeria state of insecurity needs spiritual dimension. It needs prayer, that Nigerians will stand up and begin to pray for intervention. What does that imply? That the security architecture of Nigerian state has been overwhelmed. When a chief of naval staff in charge of the waterways and the rest of them and surveillance is saying, we need to go spiritual. We need to go spiritual. We need to pray. This is no longer about trusting in the Kanu's jet. It is not about trusting in the armored tanks and armored carriers, which has been blown up, bombed down on several occasions. Even it was alleged that Boko Haram brought down so many Kanu jets. Now they are coming out to express the reality. The deep secret is unfolding. Now my question is for those listening out there. You begin to see even the executive are failing. They are failing because if the military, the entire military hierarchy is expressing disappointment and frustration, resorting to prayer or spirituality as a way of solving the insecurity in Nigeria, to the meaning that the Boko Haram has eaten deep into the security architecture. The insurgency is a well-planned project, a program under execution, which it is practically impossible to dislodge them because they are more sophisticated, they are more sponsors, they have more robust sponsors and the rest of them to overrun the Nigerian state. And the new Shekel has vowed that there will be no peace in Nigeria except democracy is destroyed. There will be no peace in Nigeria except democracy is destroyed. And when you underscore what is happening, you know that these people are not fighting civilians. They are targeting military facilities with unmanned military vehicles, area surveillance, taking precision and precise in their attacks. They are dislodging military base, camps. It's not about overrunning civilian communities and the rest of them. That is just a secondary issue as far as this movement is concerned. Now, my question is, with all these realities unfolding, someone who once claimed he was fighting for Biafra liberation in the person of Ikenga is advising Biafrans, advising Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, even warning him that he cannot defeat Nigeria. The Nigerian security operatives that have expressed worry and concern over the rising insecurity, over the escalation of Boko Haram, invading their camps, their bases, is asking Nnamdi Kanu, Biafra cannot defeat Nigeria. Is Biafra at war with Nigeria? The answer is no. Nnamdi Kanu is not at war with Nigeria, but Boko Haram and other Islamic terrorists or Islamic proponents in the north, or Islamic jihadists or proponents of Islamic states, are the one at war with Nigeria. In fact, they didn't mince words. They have declared war against Nigeria, against the northern politicians of recent, against anyone supporting the Western system of government you call democracy, against the indigenous people of Biafra, the ethnic nationalities that makes up Nigeria. Many communities have been overrun and taken over by these people. They are targeting military facilities. Of course, the Nigerian Defense Academy has once been overrun under the watch of Buhari, and nothing happened. They carted away with the strongest facilities, military wares, military facilities, armories, and of course, they are using it now, deploying it against the Nigerian state. Now, is it this Nigeria that already has been overrun by insurgency, with the current realities and testimonies or submission or public briefing of the service chiefs? You understand there is something fundamentally wrong, that there is no peace in this country. If many military personnel has fallen victim, have been killed and slaughtered, now what is left for the politicians? They are now targeting the northern politicians, supporting the government of Nigeria. They want a total collapse of the government called Nigeria so that they could establish their Islamic caliphate. It is clear, but unfortunately, some are living in denial of the current realities. They are committed and focused in actualization of this. Now, is it the same Nigeria that is under threat? Ikenga is advising Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to drop the agitation of Biafra and join the Nigerian politics. The same Ikenga claimed he was supporting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, never knew that these are moles in the camp of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. And when eventually he was sabotaged or betrayed, that led to his extraordinary rendition and being moved down to Nigeria, the same people closer to him was accused of masterminding his extraordinary rendition. They played a vital role. Most of them were silenced. Some could not deny the reality because of the evidence and events unfolding. Eventually, that led to the emergence of Mazi Simon Ekpa, who now took the Biafran cause in a different horizon, in a different dimension, speaking for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and continuing the advocacy for the liberation of Biafra through the Biafran Republic government in exile, which he eventually established. Now, Ikenga said, if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will give us Biafra, I will do whatever I can to destroy it. Did you get that point? Not because he is speaking in favor of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, not because he thinks that Simon Ekpa want to chance Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, want to take the place of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. The intent of his actions or expressions is becoming clearer. He thought by the arrest or kidnap of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the issue of Biafra will eventually be silenced. He was now surprised that someone will spring up, the like of Simon Ekpa, to continue the quest, the agitation for the restoration of Biafra. Having known clearly the vision and mandate of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, Simon Ekpa plugged into the same, recognizing the leadership of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and believing he is the disciple to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, fighting the same cause for the emancipation of the Biafran people. With the current realities now, there is no future for the Biafrans in Nigeria. Of course, the Boko Haram want to collapse the Nigerian state so that they could establish their own entity and empire. This is the reason why now the Chief of Naval Staff is calling for spiritual intervention. They knew that you cannot win this war with the barrels of gun any longer, not even with the bombardment of the Boko Haram. Just as the Air Marshal Abubakar, this is an Air Marshal trained for surveillance, for bombardment. They are saying you can't bomb them out of Nigeria. What does that mean? They have come to stay. That is his own affirmation, that they have come to stay. And when will Nigeria address the issue of socioeconomic reforms? It is not possible because of the crop of politicians we have in Nigeria who are self-centered and driven by their own selfish quests and accomplishment. It doesn't matter to them what Nigerians are passing through. It doesn't matter to them how many people, mother to child mortality rates, they could jet out of the country at any slightest, of course, symptom of headache or stomach ache or whatever fever. That's because they have at their disposal all the resources of the state at their disposal to use it for their own selfish interests. So they are not even prepared to address the issue of hunger, poverty, unemployment, and the rest of them. That is to tell you there is no remedy, there is no way out of this, because the Boko Haram meant business and they are working towards the total collapse of Nigeria. They are the one at war with Nigeria, not Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is only confined within the Biafran defunct territory. He is not encroaching the southwestern region or western region. He is not going to the north to disturb them or to fight them. He is only asking, let our dignity, let our human dignity and respect to human fundamental rights be preserved, be recognized by the state. We want to build our own country. a system where we could be trusted, a system we can entrust our future, we can build a political alliance, we can come up with policy formations that addresses our local and peculiar needs, that is local to the indigenous people of Biafra. They are not asking to invade and grab the lands of the Yorubas or the Tifis or those in the northern parts of the country. They are saying we want to build a system that will ensure the safety and security of every law-abiding citizen or indigene or residents within the defined Biafran territories. But in the contrary, the Boko Haram are overrunning the entire Nigerian state, and they are bent at that. Now, what am I trying to drive home? Now, somebody who said, instead of Simon Iba to give us Biafra, let everything die. Let's collapse everything. That is the first pointer that Ikenga never fought for Biafra independence. He never intended to fight for the liberation of the Biafran people. He considers himself as an opportunist who took undue advantage to make money out of every slightest opportunity to cash out. Now, when Nnamdi Kanu was betrayed, if he really believed in the cause of Biafra, he would have possibly remained silent or possibly seek for another alternative way of pursuing his dream, if that is, of course, his vision and what. It is very clear. He thought that by the extraordinary rendition of Nnamdi Kanu, the cause of Biafra will die, because the DOS and every other branch or administrative administrative charter or organogram could collapse, and most of them did what they know best to ensure that both the supposed Eastern Security Network and the DOS was infiltrated and eventually collapsed, if that was possible for them. Now, when they consider possibly that was not forthcoming, you know what they do? Ikenga came out to tell you, instead of Mazi Simon Iba to give us Biafra, I will fight to destroy it. This is what he eventually did. All of a sudden, he denounced and renounced the Biafran identity, being part of the IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, which he has been part of. He renounced them and said, I have nothing to do with Biafra cause anymore. My hands are off. But eventually, if really your hands were off, as you rightly said, if you have known any ulterior motive or intention, you would have been totally out of Biafra discussion. You would have maintained or pipe low and allowed those who believe in the cause of Biafra, who believe in the IPOB, who belongs to the IPOB, to continue whatever they believe is their ideology for the restoration of Biafra. For you now, meddling into the cause, telling the people, the public, that some Biafran military has been bite, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who is defiant about the restoration of Biafra, who maintain his position, could be doing that in error, that he should drop Biafra and join you, who has joined the Nigerian politics, a country that is already is in the state of quagmire, in the state of uncertainty, to drop Biafra agitation and join Nigerian politics. Even those in politics today are not safe. Otherwise, they hardly could move without the security orderlies. Now, the military are being targeted. So they are not even secure with the military being attached to them. That's why, of recent, the Senate President of the 10th National Assembly have raised concern over the resurgence of insecurity. Of course, Abuja is part of the North, could possibly be overrun if the Nigerian Defense Academy, cited in Kaduna, could be overrun. What is the proximity, of course, of Abuja to Kaduna? It is less than 2 hours or so, which possibly could be as well overrun. There are spikes of insecurity, kidnapping, and forceful disappearances going on. People are apprehensive, people are living in fear and apprehension, even in Abuja environment. It is quite very worrisome. Now, what did Ikenga see in the same Nigeria that is almost at the verge of collapsing, that he now believes there could be future for Biafrans or anyone pursue the cause of the restoration of Biafra should abandon that cause and retire back to the Nigerian politics? What has been the fate of an average of Igbo extraction in the Nigerian politics today, dated back to the times and seasons of Zik? He ended up being used and dumped. Nobody, of course, could point out these are the legacies or these are the benefits that Zik, being a Nigerian politician, has benefited his people. Nobody can point out this is his achievement or accomplishment in the Nigerian politics, even when it was called Zik of Africa, but not of Nigeria. Of course, you know what happened, how he was denied the rights of being the prime minister of the Nigerian government. His political ambitions and aspirations was dashed, even in Nigeria. So what is the hope of an average Igbo man, or supposed to be a France, in the Nigerian politics? That today Ikenga was bold, daring to call on Nnamdi Kanu to drop the Biafran agitation and embrace the Nigerian politics and join the politics that is self-centered, only meant to satisfy the egos of those seeking for political opportunities, not to serve the people, but to rip off the common treasury of the collective masses. Is quite unfortunate. Of course, this has prompted the prophet of Ezumezu to caution Ikenga and possibly considering of banishing Ikenga from the Biafran territory, because he has committed what we might describe as an omen. It's a bad omen to have made himself very suspicious, used as an instrument of our enemy of the Biafran. If he have denounced and renounced or dissociated himself with the IPOB or Biafran cross, of course, that is his opinion. He could back down anytime. Anybody has rights or entitled to his opinion, but not to begin to be seen or used as a mold against his own people, which unfortunately they are no longer his people, haven't denied and publicly renounced them. Well, only time will reveal what definitely will be. But definitely, the Biafran people has been vindicated. Their quest for the restoration of Biafra is now vindicated and justified with the current realities in Nigeria today. Taraba, about a few days ago, about 42 Christians was killed while they are sleeping. They were invaded and attacked, raided. Is that the kind of Nigeria you would desire for your posterity and your people? Kaduna, of course, Katsina, Zamfara, Enugu are being rounded up. Is that the kind of Nigeria where the spike of insecurity continue to escalate and the politicians are feasting, they are enjoying preparing for 2027 that may not be in the first instance. Why people are being annihilated. They are forming coalitions and, of course, political alignment to continue the looting where their counterpart stops. Well, let me have your own take regarding this development. Then, if that is the Nigeria, he's asking Nnamdi Kanu to join the politics of Nigeria and drop the cause of Biafra. Then Ikenga must definitely, by my own opinion, examine his mental states and stability.